most people again don't think about it. They feel that, whatever the amount of funding that, I'll either think of my own expenses, or I'll look at what the VC is willing to give me. But I think that one should put in additional thought into this in order to evaluate, how much you should raise. Um, so see, I mean, there is, broadly, I feel there are three broad phases in a financial life of a startup, right? So first, there is the setup phase. When you're experimenting, you're bootstrapped, you're figuring out what is the customer need, you're fulfilling, you're coming up with a viable product, you're figuring out, you're testing it with the customer base, you're doing pilots, you're trying to arrive at a product market fit. Then comes the growth phase when you're, working to improve unit economics. You already have an MVP and you're trying to achieve operating break even maybe, and you're trying to make the business more sustainable and stop burning cash. Right, that's the growth phase, and obviously you're also trying to grow, so you as a result will end up burning cash, but you're trying to make the whole enterprise more sustainable. And then lastly, you have the scale up phase, right? You've got a proven business model. You know what works, what doesn't, what's your target customer, all of that. So what you're now trying to do is take the product to as big of a stage as you can, take it to new markets, go deep in your existing target markets, and so on. Right? So how much you want to raise depends on what stage of financial life of your startup is in. So if you are at a if you're at a setup stage, right, the amount of funding that you should raise should be calibrated according to this. So if you're in the setup phase, then you should assess how much funds do you really need to do all of this experimentation, market discovery, product development, maybe a few hires that you would have, initial hires of your business. So very, very pretty much you have to remain in the thrift mode, but you have to look at what would be your most basic minimum expenses that you need, and potentially more than that, but you should at least have your floor for, you can't go below this in terms of your funding needs, right? And based on that, you would then look at your fundraise, and you look at who should you speak to, and all of that. If you are, essentially what you're looking at then is, if you're in the growth stage, then you're looking at saying, okay, I have my product, I know what it takes, how much cash I'm burning, and so you are really looking at your runway, and you're looking at an 18 to 24 months or maybe 36-month kind of a runway, wherein you're saying that these are my operating expenses, this is the rate at which my revenues are growing, I can see what's happening, I wish to grow faster, and hence I am going to be investing into the business, and this is what I need. Right? So then it's about looking at the existing business and then using that to sort of extrapolate your funding needs over the next 18 to 24 months. So it's kind of different from the first phase where you're really just covering expenses and you have a basic minimum of a funding need that without which you can't move, right? Here, it's about how much can you grow with how much capital. So the scale up phase is different. We've seen now in India many mature startups that have reached a phase where they, like Byju's, for example, you keep hearing of them raising millions and hundreds of millions of funding, which is, they are really in that scale up phase, right? When the sky is the limit for how much funding you can raise. No numbers can probably guide you on what's the right number, no calculations, but it's really about you having found that sweet spot with regard to your product, with regard to your market, and then you just want to grow bigger. You want to go, expand your business to other geographies, other countries, new markets, new products. So at that point, you're looking at a different kind of a fundraise, so much larger. So setup is when you sort of look at your bank balance and say, how much do I need to kind of to kind of get there? Growth is when you're looking at your operating expenses and saying, okay, this is where I'm at, and if I keep spending like this, I will grow to this state. So you kind of evaluate on the basis of existing financials, and scale up is when it's blue sky, right? You kind of look at new opportunities in a very different manner.